2025 was a horrible year for Bitcoin price action, and I think this is one of the reasons why Bitcoin in 2026 will be a massive year for the Bitcoin price action in 2026. This is something we talked about today with my guest, Maurizio, aka Mr. M. We also talked about the 4-year cycle, how institutions and ETFs have changed Bitcoin, and more importantly, why Bitcoin is a superior asset to gold, superior asset to silver, that also had a huge all-time high in 2025, and also a superior asset to like real estate and any other assets. This was a very important topic, a very important conversation we had in the starting of the year, this year, and we already see the first couple of days in Bitcoin are positive. So let's see how this year progresses. For me, it's really fun when you think about where what we said in the beginning of 2025. We all were extremely bullish because it was the up year. It was the year that was supposed to give us to like 150K, 200K. People said even like 1 million, but like this was unrealistic for me even a year back. What did you kind of think of 2025? And maybe then we can get into some predictions of what you think 2026 might bring.
Sounds good. Well, first of all, thank you for having me back. Always a pleasure to be on your show. So big thank you. And yeah, 2025 was really interesting. I had a 180,000 price point as a prediction, which was completely off, but the plan didn't change. I'm still all in. I'm still DCAing. I'm still believing Bitcoin is the best asset. Now, what was interesting to overview, like you said, was the fact that many people were off, myself included. And I'm not afraid to say I was wrong because I was expecting Bitcoin to go banana, at least in Q4, and it didn't happen. So interesting, silver and gold have gone bananas. So I think we might have to add to the, that there is this thing about rotation. I call it rotation, people call it altcoin season, whatever. So you have Bitcoin that goes nuts, then you have Ethereum, then you have altcoins and meme coins, and blah, blah. Maybe we need to add gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum into the mix, because I was not expecting silver to go that crazy. And I don't think it's going to be sustained, by the way. I think it's going to correct very soon. In fact, we've seen volatility coming in for silver. So what I'm expecting for 2026 is a new all-time high. Maybe we can talk about the 4-year cycle as well, because many people are saying it's dead. Technically, even if I believe so, and I think the 4-year cycles are indeed going to be dying, still we are into one. And the last nail in the coffin will be a new all-time high in 2026, which I think we will have. If we can even talk about numbers, but I'm expecting whatever we haven't seen in 2025 in 2026.
It's super interesting when you think about gold and silver ripping, because nobody really anticipated it, and other than the few gold bucks and a few silver bucks, of course, but they are anticipating every year. And if I think about why this is happening, is because people are really upset with the financial system. Like gold has this historic thing where if people say like there's something majorly wrong with the financial system and with inflation and all of that, then they're like going to gold and silver. Now, I think people saying like, oh, now this proves that Bitcoin is not the solution. For me, this just proves that people haven't understood Bitcoin yet, and then we are super early. Yeah. But do you see this as the major reason why they ripped, that like people are waking up to the financial system not being as stable as they might have thought previously?
Well, yeah, I mean, they say gold is the canary in the mine. Back in the days, they used to take the canary in the mine to check the oxygen. And when the canary was dying, it was meant it's time to go because there's no oxygen. So I think gold and silver are acting like this. The difference, though, would be, in my opinion, that gold is going to continue to go higher. So Peter Schiff is going to be happy about this. Whether silver, I think, is going to be way more volatile because there is much supply in the market. They can still mine it. There is so much recycling you can do to electronics. And also, let's not forget, silver is used everywhere. So when silver is expensive, it's bad because it's used everywhere, which means it's not sustainable. Whether gold, on the other hand, has been used, okay, jewelry, it's a small portion, but is used more for, like you said, storing value, panic mode, saying, oh, the currency is going to be debased, gold, because it's a good commodity, it's a good asset. So I think we experienced that. And we've seen, by the way, China buying ton of it. We've seen, by the way, this happened last year in February. And I remember Da Vinci was telling me, scared, he said, hey, something is going on between the UK and the US. the US is asking the UK to send them their gold. And it's weird because why? Why the US would want their gold back? Because of course, as you know, gold has to be stored somewhere. And even if it's yours, I mean, you never know. It could be paper gold. So the US was like, hey, we need the gold back. And this was February. And it was suspicious because why all of a sudden the US is asking the UK to send their gold back? Now I guess I can do 1 + 1 = 2, which means they probably wanted the gold before this massive move. What would be interesting to see, and I wonder how you feel about this, will be to see all those people, they made profit in gold. They escaped from inflation into an asset or a commodity, depending on how you want to call it. I think some of them are going to rotate their profits into Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin has gone not as well as everyone was expecting, which means there's an opportunity there because it hasn't gone banana yet. So if I would be someone who invested into stocks, silver and gold and thinking, I made some money now, I made some profit, what am I going to do with it? I mean, where I'm going to park my profits? Well, then maybe Bitcoin could be a play.
Bitcoin is the ultimate place to park profits. It's you said it just wasn't. I want to really touch on that because people always say, yeah, but gold has value because it's used in jewelry and it's used in like smartphones and all that. I'm like, that's such a small use case. And I think it's a bug. I think if we really want to have a store of value, there should just be a store of value. But then always the argument comes of, hey, but this is just a speculation then. How do you respond to that? Because like, yes, it only has the function of money, which makes it a good money. But then people say, okay, so it's only speculation then. And I'm like, no, but it doesn't need other use cases. It actually benefits because it does not have other use cases.
Yeah, super. Exactly. I agree. First of all, the jewelry argument is so broken because I don't remember out of my head. So don't quote me in the comments, but a small percentage of gold is used in jewelry. And by the way, I would invite you to go and buy a ring with a diamond on top and then resell it the next day. You lose at least 50% value. So it's not a good store of value. Even diamonds are it's ridiculous, right? I know stories of people proposed or they got engaged and they broke up after the ring itself was worth nothing. So the old store of value jewelry doesn't even make sense. Now, there's an argument in maybe watches, perhaps, even though everyone who does love watches, they tell you it is not a store of value because Rolexes, they keep their value better than fiat, but it depends. It depends on how you acquire them. If you acquire them from a authorized dealership, maybe, but if you buy secondhand, you pay 3 times the amount. So again, it's all a speculation. And also, I would say value is very subjective. Some people are saying, oh, it doesn't have any value. Well, first of all, it doesn't matter because if we all decide collectively that whatever it is has value, even if it has no value, it's going to be worth more in fiat. So there is also the argument where people are saying, oh, it's worth nothing. Well, that's what you think. That's when Peter Schiff talks about gold and Bitcoin and they do all the debates, he keeps saying it has no value. Well, that's what you think. I mean, last I checked, it was almost worth $90,000. So the fact that you don't see value in something doesn't mean it doesn't have value. It means that you don't believe in it, which is totally fine, but that doesn't mean the market wouldn't have a different opinion. So there is a very difference in what you can do with it. And besides the fact that Bitcoin, you can do a lot of stuff, but let's park them on the side for a minute. Even if Bitcoin was a rock and it was used for nothing, but we all collectively decide that we want it, well, then it has value. So the old argument about value and speculation is ridiculous. Plus, people are saying, oh, people buy Bitcoin because they want to make more money. Well, that's investment. Hello. Why people buy the stock and gold? Because they want to make more fiat. It's the same. I mean, you are attacking investing. Any investor is projecting to make more money when they acquire an asset. So the whole argument makes me laugh because it doesn't make any sense.
I always have this quote, like everything is an investment except Bitcoin, it's savings and money. So it's like if you think about a Rolex, it can be great, but it can also be horrible. So you have to know which one to buy and when and all of those, which reminds me of investing. It's the same with stocks. Stocks in general are horrible. They keep up only with inflation a little bit. But if you pick the right stocks, you're doing amazing. If you pick the wrong stocks, you can even like lose money. So it comes back down to investing. And so you have to do a lot of research. And then opposite to that is Bitcoin, where you just save your money in. You don't have to keep up with news. Now, we do keep up with news a lot, and it's super fun. But you could just say, hey, I have Bitcoin, and I never think about Bitcoin ever again. It's just my money. And I just keep it at that. And I actually met some people on those meetups. Usually you meet them where they say like, hey, I really don't know what's going on actually in Bitcoin. I just want to meet once a month some Bitcoiners at a local meetup, and that's all I do in Bitcoin. The whole other thing is just my life, and I use Bitcoin actually to get more life back into my life and my time, and not to just keep up with Bitcoin news, which could be very beneficial to your life. But you're not required to spend time reading what Bitcoin is currently doing, even though we are incentivized to do it because it's volatile and we still want to check on our Bitcoin if it's doing good.
Exactly, and it will affect your perspective on the price itself. So if you do put the time to study, whatever it is, it could be even like you said, Rolexes. I know a lot of friends in Dubai, they bought a bunch of watches and they are down in value because the market was inflated a while back, and they maybe acquire a piece for $200,000 and today is worth 80. So like you said, if you can afford to wait long enough, if you would ask me, would you rather have a Rolex or $50,000 on your bank account? I'll pick a Rolex, of course, because dollars are destroying themselves, whether a watch is an asset at least. But who knows? Like you said, it's super volatile, like Bitcoin it is. But if you study, if you put the time to understand why you are acquiring it, when there is a time of turbulence, when the price corrects a little bit, you won't feel the panic of selling it. If anything, you will feel the panic of buying it because you understood what it does. So learning what are you buying and what are you investing is going to help you in whatever it is. Like if you want to buy Pokemon cards, instead of buying random Pokemon cards, it's better if you do some research and see which one have quote unquote value. Again, to talk about the value discussion we said earlier, I mean, Logan Paul has a Pokemon card around his neck, which is worth $7 million, right? The Pikachu Illustrator is called. And hey, we could talk about why it's a bad idea to store your value into a Pokemon card. But hey, there is the market, there is people, they want it. So if people decide collectively, again, that it has value, it doesn't matter what it does. Like a Pokemon card is not doing anything. It's just like a collectible. So it's funny how some people, like you said, are saying, oh, Bitcoin is a bad idea, but Pokemon cards, yeah, it's the way to go. Hey, good luck with that, man. I mean, you decide where to put your money. But I don't have any Pokemon cards. I don't have any watches. I just have Bitcoin.
Yeah, don't put a $7 million item around your neck also, please.
That would be a good idea. Exactly.
And if you do, please hire a lot of security.
Exactly.
Let's talk about 2026, what you expect and what you kind of... It's always funny with predictions because like we are more likely to be wrong than right.
Sure.
And at least how we've been the last year. But I think it's valuable to think about what the coming year might bring and where we might end up in 2026 and how we align and what other people think also. How do you think how 2026 will play out?
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, price is exciting because again, what are we comparing Bitcoin to? Because interesting enough, if you compare Bitcoin versus gold, Bitcoin has been into a bear market since 2024. So again, it depends on what are you using to compare the value of Bitcoin. Because if you shift from dollars to gold, it's a different story. Actually, I would encourage you guys to chart it and just go gold versus Bitcoin. You would see that we've been in a bear market for the last 12 months. Benjamin Cohen has a beautiful video out that talks about it. Super interesting. So again, if you use fiat, which fiat destroys itself over time, so it wouldn't be the best way to compare what is valuable because you're using something that is destroying itself over time to compare something that's going the opposite. So, but anyway, this is what people like to look into: dollars, euros, pounds, and so forth. So I'm expecting, one, the 4-year cycles to be killed completely. And like we said earlier, in order to die once for all, we have to go and put an all-time high in now, basically in 2026. And I'm expecting that to happen. Why? Because I think Bitcoin is the best, obviously, store of value. Is the best way to save is money. I mean, at least in my life, I have next to zero fiat in my life, and I couldn't care less about fiat. Of course, it's impacting my life because I'm going to have to pay rent in February. And the plan was to use some of the volatility on the upside to sell some of the Bitcoin, because I do sell Bitcoin. I'm a big proponent of selling Bitcoin if you are all in. Of course, if you use Bitcoin as a saving account, you shouldn't play the cycles and try to be clever. You just buy and hold. No financial advice. But if you are all in, like I am, you have no other option. So I was planning to use the pump in Q4 that I was expecting to then sell some to pay rent in February. But hey, no biggie. I will pay rent in February. I will sell whatever I have to sell to sustain my life and my choices. And I'm expecting 2026 to be quite interesting because there's going to be a quantitative easing. I'm expecting the Feds to start running up the machine to print more money, to give a check of $2,000 Trump was talking about. Jerome Powell is going to be replaced by someone else who cannot wait to turn the printer on. So I think liquidity is going to impact this new rally. And we have seen this asset, aka Bitcoin, operating in those cycles. But I think that's over because liquidity is going to come in, I believe, in the US, which is going to dictate everywhere else what's going to happen. So I'm expecting a decent pump. Price, I can throw a couple. I think 180, 200 will be decent, will be nice. But I'm not buying Bitcoin because I'm expecting that 12 months later is going up in value. I have a 10, 15, 20 years ahead of me. So I don't care if we see a 2025, 2026, 2028 for what matters. All I'm thinking about is 10, 15, 20 years ahead. And I believe from where we are today to 20 years in the future, which I'll be 70, Bitcoin is going to be worth more. So I can throw numbers on the wall, but I wouldn't wait until I'm seeing, by the way, a lot of people saying, 40,000 Bitcoin in 2026, calling for a big correction, which doesn't make any sense because we haven't gone up much. So why the hell we should go down that much? I mean, from 126 down to 40,000 is like what, 70% correction? Why? It doesn't make any sense. A diminishing return, also diminishing in losses, right? So if we would have gone bananas into 200,000, okay, fair to say that maybe a big correction would happen, but we haven't gone bananas, so I don't think we're going to drop aggressively. So I think 80,000 is going to be an interesting number to see if we can hold it. We could go a little bit lower, down to 70s or the previous all-time high cycle before. Totally fine. I will actually be happy and welcome the opportunity to accumulate more Bitcoin. But I'm expecting 2026 to be extremely bullish. So I would buy, like I said, no financial advice, but I would have a plan that is going to allow me to buy Bitcoin every single month, no matter what, for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Because if you try to be clever, if you want to play the market, you're going to get spanked. And I say all the time in the market beats timing the market. So if you are one who says, I'm going to wait until it goes down to 60 and then buy and then double it when it's sold, nah, that's not a good strategy, because when you see, if we drop to one, let's say from 126 to 60,000, you're not going to buy because you're going to be in fear. And you're going to say, it's gone to 60. Well, it's going to go to 20 now, right? This is greed. So best thing you can do is have fun with price prediction, throw them some on the wall and see what sticks, but have a plan every month, every week, money you can afford to invest for 10, 15, even 20 years. That's how I think everyone should play.
I love it, and you actually, I wrote it down just to check it later and remember it for me. But yours are really aligning with mine, and we haven't spoken before, and I didn't show you this before also, just to for the viewers.
Transparency, yeah.
I thought about, because I saw that tweet from some German guy in Bitcoin that made the 2026 prediction. I was like, hey, that's kind of fun exercise to just put a tweet out in the beginning of 2026 and see how accurate you were, with obviously no guarantee. And also I'm not acting on it. So I'm not a trader that's just I'm expecting Bitcoin to be at 110K at February. And then I'm selling because then it goes to 70K. I'm not doing that shit. I'm just saying the next year, if I think about the macro picture, I could imagine those things that I've written down here might happen. And for those who listen, I wrote down the first point: Bitcoin will hit 150K and end the year above 100K. So somewhere in this year, I think we have a spike, which might be really, how people say, face melting. But but I wanted to be conservative with like 150K. I think if we really have a spike, some surge, I think we will go well beyond 150K, because we already, I think the previous all-time high was like 126, 127 or something like that. And then we end the year above 100K. I have a very hard time believing that we end 2026 under 100K. I would be highly surprised, and then we can do a New Year's Eve episode on the 31st to see how wrong we were. But I have a very hard time believing Bitcoin under 100K with all the liquidity and macro picture that is now coming in. Then I think as gold and silver outperform Bitcoin this year, I think the reverse will be the case for, or I have to say now last year. Gold and silver outperformed last year, and now I think Bitcoin will outperform gold and silver this year. This is a fun one. I'm now more and more getting into treasury companies. And just full disclosure, I own a little bit of MSTR finally. I made a whole stream about it. And I also bought like, it's not even worth mentioning, I think I bought like 5 shares of like Jack Mallers thing.
At the 21. The 21.
Yeah, 21, yeah. Just full disclosure. But I do think because we have a bullish year, that strategy probably will outperform Bitcoin a little bit. I think Bitcoin over the long run is the best thing, because you not only get the number go up, but also like the freedom go up technology. Then this is the most risky one that I put in there. Because I have no clue about that. I obviously have no insider information in any companies. But I think there will be 2 new S&P 500 companies that will buy Bitcoin this year. This is the one, if I had to delete one, I probably would delete this one. This is a risky one. Now, this is a very easy one. This is almost like, yeah, of course, there will be a new Fed chair. The chances of that, I think, are 99.9%. I almost don't see it happening. I'm probably like, maybe when this is going on air, Trump might already have announced something. And then I think we get back to actual quantitative easing. Now there's like, you can define it in different ways of what is actually quantitative easing, because we're always printing money somehow. But I think we really get back to a state where there's a lot more liquidity in the market. We might actually see something, as you said, like having 2K checks going out to people. Trump has, I think the midterms are coming up. And so like he really wants a flourishing Bitcoin price, a flourishing stock market, a flourishing all of that, because apparently then presidents are looking good. I don't know why, but that's apparently how it is. What are your thoughts on those things?
I love them. Like you said, we are super in line. The thing that you have there, at least to a new S&P company, this I didn't think about it, but that's a good guess. It's a good guess. I guess. I mean, I'm digging it. I like it. I didn't think about that one, but it's possible. It's very possible. Also, the strategy itself is going to be in the S&P, I think, and this year is going to happen because they got rejected in 2025. But I think they're going to meet the criteria, so that's another big boost. I don't own personally MSTR. I don't have strategy in my portfolio. I'm a Bitcoin Taliban, as they call me, super maxi. But I see a case for it. Like, why not? It's they basically supercharge Bitcoin in so many different ways. So I think it's going to do well. And like you said there, gold and silver are going to be outperformed by Bitcoin. I think so as well. It was a bit of a surprise, like we discussed in the beginning. I was not expecting Bitcoin to be slapped by gold. And by the way, someone commented on one of my videos a couple of days ago, which I thought it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And this guy said, oh no, but you don't understand. Silver has gone out from I wish I would make this up, but I swear it's a true story. He said silver broke a 45 years old cap and handle. Okay, so which is a pattern in technical analysis. And I'm like, bro, 45 years old. I mean, that's desperation right there. I don't even know if you can measure something that long. But anyway, as we say all the time, TA or technical analysis, male astrology. So I don't put much attention to it. But it's interesting how those guys are coming up and saying, oh, silver is going to go. I think you're buying the top here, by the way, if you're buying silver. But it's really interesting how, again, people are just following the herd. Like if something is pumping, they have to buy it. And I'm like, I'm not saying silver is bad or gold is bad. I mean, anything is better than fiat money, of course. But all I'm saying is you probably don't want to buy something when it's going crazy unless you want to hold it forever, right? Like Bitcoin, I would buy the top every single day because I understand what it is. But if I'm someone who has no idea on investing whatsoever and I see silver on TV and I just go and buy silver or gold or whatever it is, it's a bad idea because then, like you said, if you don't understand why you are investing into an asset, you will sell it when it doubles or you will sell it when it goes chopped in half. So having a base understanding of why you are deciding or choosing to take your sweat equity or your, I don't call it money, your fiat currency, and you're buying something, it's fundamental, right? So I like what you said there. I agree. I think 150 is easy. And I like the fact that you said it's going to stay over 100,000. That's a really good one. I didn't think about that too, but it makes sense.
The first thing that every Bitcoiner does, and the most important activity that every Bitcoiner keeps on doing, is buying Bitcoin. And I personally use Relai to buy and sometimes also spend or sell my Bitcoin. And there are two main reasons why I do so. The first one is it's Bitcoin only. They do not do any shit coins. They do not do any cryptos, any stocks or anything else. This is a tool, an app, the biggest one in Europe, that is fully focused only and solely on Bitcoin. The second one is self-custody. They give you the keys to your Bitcoin the moment you buy them. You never give them the control over your Bitcoin, and you don't have to trust them because you can verify that you and only you have the keys to your Bitcoin. There's no third-party risk. There's no freezing of your assets. There's no rug pulling. There's nothing of that. Download Relai, the app, on your phone, or go to relay.app on your browser and use code Robin to save fees and get cheaper Bitcoin. I want to tell you about something very special to me. It's called Microseed. If you hold your Bitcoin in self-custody, and you should, you know how critical it is to secure your seed phrase. You should not have them on paper. You should not have them on anything else than titanium. With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today, and you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. Why is that herd mentality? Because if you think about it if you remove Bitcoin, the word Bitcoin, and maybe the word stocks and maybe the word gold, with buying socks and buying a camera or buying anything else, and you see the price of something going up massively, something that you need, you wouldn't buy more of it. You wouldn't be like, oh yeah, like I always have those socks, and now instead of $10 a pack, I have to now pay $20 a pack. And you're not going out and saying like, oh, because it is now $20 a pack, I'm buying more of it. But if you have the socks that you always have and you're like, I need them anyways all my life, like I can stack on them, many of them, and they are going from $10 a pack to like $7 a pack, you're like, hey, they're a lot cheaper now. I should buy more of them. And why don't we apply the same thinking and mentality that we now have with discounts? And this is the in P2C, like in the commerce and the retail markets, it works the other way around. Discounts are like incentivizing people to buy. That's why like 70% Christmas sale, like New Year's Eve sale, Black Friday sale, all the different kind of sales. Why don't have people the same mentality with Bitcoin, gold, stocks, silver, and everything else?
It goes deep into the human behavior. If you think about it, going against the wave is much harder. So there was an Italian YouTuber back in the days when I was still in Italy. So it was like 30 years ago. And he was going around during sale season, right? And filming. And you could see shops with people queuing for like hours. And he was asking at some, why are you queuing here? And they were saying, I swear, they were saying, I don't know. I just seen other people queuing. And I thought, and by the way, this is a phenomenon. This is not something Italians do. It's very common. So if you have a line, people will tend to join the line. They don't even know why, because they think, oh, if there is 1,000 people queuing, it must be good, but they don't even know why. So this is in our DNA embedded. We like to follow other people's behavior. The fear of missing out kind of thing comes up. Imagine if you have, I don't know, two pathways and you have 80 people going on the right, and then one says, I'm going this way. Well, it's much harder to sustain your reasoning why you want to go where no one is going, as opposed to, well, maybe if I follow them, there might be a reason why there is 80 people going that way. If I go by myself on the other side, why am I doing it? So you start questioning yourself. So I think this is what's happening, psychologically speaking, in investing. If you see a lot of people investing into something, you want to be part of it. That's why all the meme coin have gone bananas. Oh my God, it's so fun. Everyone is doing it, right? But who cares? If people if they jump off the balcony tomorrow, I'm not going to jump off the balcony. I don't care how much my DNA has been wired at birth. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to jump off the window. But when it comes to this kind of stuff, pattern investing, all my friends are doing. Oh, my mate told me that the stock is really good, so I have a tip or whatever you want to call it. So it's really easy to justify, oh, well, everyone is doing it, I might as well do it myself. Whether thinking outside of the box, going against the waves, is much harder, and say, hey, wait a second, I want to think about it. I'm not saying I'm not going to do it, but I want to think about it. Maybe I will after a bit of research. And by the way, people hate studying. They don't want to research. They just want, and I'm sure you relate to this, how many people in my network have come to me and say, hey, so I want to buy Bitcoin. Is it a good time now? Yes or no? Okay, so you are telling me you literally are doing it wrong from the beginning. So you should study it first. And then if you do study it, you understand that it's always a good time to buy it. But then, again, who wants to study? They rather watch TV or just go and do some fun activities or drink or whatever it is. They don't want to stay home with books and study and research. They rather ask the person who does it, say, hey, boss, you're doing it anyway, so can you give me the tip? Can I buy it now? Is it a good time? It's the same thing. Like, and I could say yes, and I say yes every time. It is a good time, but you need to study. Yeah, but I trust you, bro. This is your expertise. You are an expert, right? Which I'm not, by the way. I'm just someone who's been studying and loving, investing into Bitcoin. But it's interesting how the mind works. Right? People would rather say, well, everyone is doing it. And by the way, the thing about the queue in Italy in the store, it's like this everywhere. So it's a proven phenomenon. So when it comes to investing, I'm not surprising people are saying, well, everyone is buying gold, so it must be time now because everyone is doing it, right? So this is when, by the way, the top is in, because the market wants to punish the most of the participants, which means when everyone is going in, then this is when they pull the plug, because now there is enough people in the market, which means the market makers are like, ooh, this is Christmas. So I think gold and silver, I mean, like I said, I'm not saying they're bad investments. They are phenomenal investments over time. But I think if you want to find the opportunities, if you want to find something that's going to give you more return, you have to go where people have not gotten there yet. When Bitcoin is going to be a popular opinion that Bitcoin is a fantastic investment, well, that thing is going to be worth $1 million, right? Because it's already there. But the thing is, you have to go it before. So all those companies, they build the internet, the Amazon, the eBays, those companies, they were worth nothing in the beginning because nobody knew where they would go, right? Of course, we had also pet.com that's gone to zero. I'm not saying every company was profitable, but this is the time now to say, hey, the opportunity is thinking where no one is there yet. So if I can think ahead of 20 years, I can make money. If I follow the herd, well, I'm going to be broke because I'm going to be punished by the market.
I love that. It reminded me because my girlfriend and I are very different in that regard. If we're in a city and there is a really famous breakfast place, like for example, we did it in Paris, there was a really famous breakfast place and there was a huge line in front of it just to eat like the famous croissant. I don't even remember the name of it. I'm allergic to queues. Whenever I see a queue, I'm like, I'm not going in there. Like I'm even, if I go to a restaurant and he says like, oh, you have to wait 5 minutes to get a table, I'm like, I go to the next one. Like I even if it takes me 5 minutes to walk there, it feels like I'm standing there, like I'm doing nothing. Like I'm very allergic to queues. Like I'm very allergic when like everyone is doing something. I also hate like series that like everyone tells me like, oh, you have to watch this. For example, Stranger Things. Everyone tells me now I have to watch Stranger Things. I really might be actually really good. Maybe I enjoy it, but like because everyone tells me to do it, like I don't want to do it. Like I'm just wired that way. But there are a lot of people, and I think most people are like, oh, there's like this famous thing, like everyone is doing that, and they're just like going there. And I'm asking is like, is there a connection between early Bitcoin investors, early Bitcoin OGs, or people that are really into it, that are also allergic to queues because they don't want to do, they almost are wired to do the opposite of the mainstream. And the mainstream is they're having a bank account, they're having their ETFs, they're having their whatever the financial advisor that they have and the bank advisor that has is telling them to do. And we as Bitcoiners are wired so differently that we're like, we don't want the mainstream. Actually, even if the mainstream would be good, we would go against it just because we are wired that way. And so I'm also thinking that I think once Bitcoin is mainstream and is the Bitcoiners, the early OGs will be the ones that move on from Bitcoin and might actually like try to find other ways to deploy money and find other ways like to get creative with that. But that's far out future, like 20, 30 years ahead. But do you also see this with, and you speak with so many also, and you met so many, do you see that this like being allergic to queues and being allergic to the mainstream is very strong in the Bitcoin community?
100%. I was about to say, in fact, when you said I'm allergic to queues, like, well, you are a Bitcoiner, of course. Like we express a behavior in not just investing fiat, but in everything we do. And it's interesting when I try to paint the typical Bitcoiner, the only thing I don't resonate with, I'm vegetarian. I've been vegetarian for my entire life. And there is a lot of meat kind of desire or consumption. That's actually the only thing I don't resonate with because I've been vegetarian forever, since I was basically 3 and I'm 50 almost. So I've been 47 years old in veggies. But that's the only thing that I don't resonate with. Everything else, be in charge of your life, your key is your coin. So take control of your actions. Take care of your body. There are so many interesting things that resonate. The fact that, like you said, we tend to have more responsibility towards every action we do. And I also hate queues, by the way. I would be okay to digest a queue if there is something I really want to do. Like if I want to get my book signed by Seyfadine Mous, for example, I would wait an hour in queue because that's something I want to do. But the object has to be so tempting for me to stay an hour into a queue. Otherwise, I wouldn't do it myself. And I certainly will never queue because there is a bunch of people queuing without knowing, hey, why am I spending my time here queuing? There is like 1,000 people. Why am I doing it? If anything, I do the opposite. Whenever I see a road which is being used by multiple people, I tend to go on the other side because I want to explore rather than follow, if it makes sense. So I think it's a behavior there. And I like what you said. I think there could be a time when potentially Bitcoin would be mainstream because now, again, only 3% of the population is invested in Bitcoin, more or less. There might be a time when Bitcoin is mainstream and we might go and look for something else, right? It's possible. It's very much possible, even though it's, like you said, fast forward, not tomorrow. It's going to happen down the line. But I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, gold has done that, right? Gold was used by pirates, by outlaw. It was used by people. They kind of resonated with Bitcoiners in the beginning, right? Independent, like in the sea, with ships cruising in the unknown. And now it's just anyone buy whatever, jewelry, or they use it. So I think gold has gone through that transformation, and Bitcoin has taken that trophy, saying, hey, we are now the rebels. We are now the one, they want the keys, they want the coins. Maybe 1,000 years from now, whenever is the time, there's going to be something else, even better, because nothing is forever, right? At some point, something's going to come out, which is going to be even better than Bitcoin. Of course, this thing is 16 years old, so it's going to take some time, but maybe eventually at some point, it's a good point. Maybe at some point we will move on into something more, I don't know, that will resonate more with some characteristics we have possible.
I want to show you something because I never get that. And I'm probably most a flexitarian. So like actually at home, I eat a lot of veggies and I eat a lot of vegetarian diet. When I'm outside, because I really focus on getting a lot of proteins in and not relying on carbs. I even cut out sugar completely. So it's really hard to get good vegetarian protein food outside in restaurants. So in restaurants, I usually eat like chicken, beef, all of it. And so for me, I'm like not in any category really. I really like vegetarian food, especially like whole foods and like cooked yourself. And because like you can also say like, oh, you eat the meat that isn't meat, like the impossible food. Like I hate that thing. Like it's just like processed, like it's fiat food on peak in my opinion.
Yeah.
But like a whole food plant-based diet can be extremely good. And then I always have like this mainstream thing of like, oh yeah, like the mainstream is now going vegetarian, and I'm like, that's not true. And I just like asked now, like I think Gemini is that United States, like 6% is vegetarian and 4% is vegan. It's the minority. Most people eat meat. In Europe, it's like 1 to 10%. I think in Austria, it's like even lower than in the US. Like we don't have a lot. If you go in Austrian restaurants and Austrian kitchen, it's hard to get like a good vegetarian diet. Like it's usually like there's like the whole menu and there's like 1-2 vegetarian menus in there, which is really like you have to find it. And then it's like Spain is there specific studies where there's like 3% vegetarian, 1% vegan, and 2% flexitarian, which like if you're flexitarian, you really don't count in vegetarian. I don't know what, everyone is a flexitarian if you eat both of it, I guess. So I actually, if you are vegetarian, you are against the mainstream. And I never get that in Bitcoin. It's like, oh yeah, like you do it. Like, no, like you are actually confirming with the mainstream if you're eating meat. Like this is what most people do. If you're just talking about that, obviously, I'm not a diet coach at all. I just eat what feels good and try to eat healthy whole food and not processed food, cut out sugar and all of that. So I don't want to even get in a debate of like why meat is better or like why plant-based is better. Like I don't care. But this blindly following like, oh, it has to be 1 steak a day and like I want to go against the mainstream. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to be true.
Yeah, it's a good point, by the way. And I mean, if I can share my 2 Satoshis here, like 20, 30 years ago was much harder being vegetarian. I was bullied. I was ridiculous. I couldn't even find, whenever I was going to a restaurant, because in Italy, people take food really seriously, right? So I was saying, hey, can I have a pasta with just tomato? I don't want any fish or meat. Oh, what's wrong with you? You're going to die. My doctor told my mom I would die. And I'm in fantastic shape, by the way. So I'm super healthy. And I don't think it's because I'm vegetarian, of course, but what I'm saying is you're not going to die if you just eat well. And like you said, my issue with food nowadays is most people actually eat junk. It doesn't even matter if it's veggie or meat or whatever, fish. The source of that food is not good, right? Because like you said, the quality is down. Like Fiat Food, fantastic book. You have also the guest, Matthew Lisak. I also interviewed him on my channel. It makes total sense. Everything has gone to, I don't want to say the word, everything has gone down in quality, right? So even the food itself, and there are parts in the States where they're called food deserts, where they don't even have prime ingredients. You just go into a store, into a supermarket, and you can only buy lasagnas, stuff you put into the microwave. They don't even know what veggies are, what fruit is. And if you find a fruit or a veggie in those fruit deserts, they are so fake. There is no nutrients. They're being grown with water as opposed to soil, which is really bad because in soil is where the nutrients comes in, right? So the whole thing about food is messy. Most of the people are obese, right? Like look into UK and US. all the kids are now obese, right? And now you can even say it, because if you say, oh, you are fat, oh, body shaming. I mean, come on, man. Jeez. When I was a kid, if you were fat kid. That's it. So some nice bullying maybe was needed to keep, I'm not saying to go around and call people fat. That's not what I'm saying, but we should help each other. If someone is an emotional eater, we should say, hey, instead of emotional eating, just do 10 push-up, which is better, right? Stay in shape, because when you get to a certain age, and I'm knocking into my 50s, and I can tell that my whole body has changed. Now I'm pounding the gym. I go 5 days a week, because I figured if I don't take care of my body now, which is my job now, my job is to maintain my skeleton, my bones, my tissues. If I don't work for it, if I don't do any weight training or any, kind of heat workouts, my body's going to collapse on me. It's going to give up, because that's what aging is about. It's about losing muscles, losing strength. So it's really important to have a diet. I don't care whatever it is. You can eat whatever you want, fish, meat, veggies, fruit only. You can breathe air only and be a monk. But as long as you do it and you just take care of it, because most people don't even look into it. For me, being vegetarian was a forced. It made me think, okay, what am I eating now? Like, how am I supposed to be sourcing quality food, quality veggies, quality fruit, quality carbs? And I have many friends here in Dubai, like Chris, Crypto, he's like a meat guy and eat 20 eggs a day, whatever. I don't care. I mean, but he has gone into a deep understanding of what is food, what do I need, why processed meat is bad. So like you said, with investing is the same thing. I don't actually think Bitcoin is the only remedy here. Bitcoin is one of many tools you can use to save your sweat equity, I call it. It doesn't have to be Bitcoin, but you owe it to yourself to say, wait, we have a problem, which is inflation. So how am I fighting this thing? It doesn't matter what you use. You can use gold, Bitcoin, you can use Pokemon cards. I don't care, to be honest. As long as you address the problem and say, my money, my fiat is debasing. So how do I fight these 10% a year? Because again, remember, I call it CPI. They say 2% inflation a year, which is not. It's 10, most likely 8, between 8 and 10. Realistically, you can call it 9 if you want to stay in the middle. It's 9% a year. My money, whatever, my fiat currencies is losing value 9% a year, which means if I want to maintain my purchasing power, I have to at least do a 9% a year. And by the way, funny enough, Bitcoin has gone, 6 point something negative. So in the past 12 months, we actually lost compared to inflation. And Bitcoin is one of the best. So think about everything else. If Bitcoin is down, okay, minus gold and silver, which have gone bananas, look into everything else. So this should be your priority. Doesn't have to be Bitcoin, like me and Robin are saying, but you owe it to yourself to say, I need to study, I need to learn, I need to look in research, whatever you want to label it. Ask ChatGPT, ask your friends, buy books, listen to podcasts, whatever you use, you owe it to yourself to say, how am I going to sustain my purchasing power for the next 10 years, knowing that I lose 10%? Same should go into food, because, whatever you eat, you become. If you eat junk, you are going to be sick. Your body is going to be unhealthy and you won't have any energy, you'll be depressed and yada, yada. So taking care of, I know it sounds crazy, but taking care of your body and your mindset and say, okay, I need to protect my purchasing power, I need to protect my body, I need to move every now and then, I need to eat healthy. These should be so important for everybody. Forget everything else, literally. Like if you don't take care of your body and your mind and your purchasing power, you're going to have problems, right? But nowadays, you go out, you look at kids and they don't even play outside anymore. I mean, 50 years ago, I was in the mud, rolling, playing football and just going into danger, climbing trees and swimming in the lake. Now everyone is like, it's scary, man. It is scary. I don't have any kids, but if I had kids, I would just throw them in the outside and just go and play, forget the computer and the iPad and the tablet thing. Just go and play, man. Just go and touch the mud, go and climb trees, go and do stuff that is going to boost your immunity system. We used to have parties where whenever someone was sick, we used to call all the kids in the neighborhood, hey, come on, the kid is sick, come and get it. So you build your immunity system. Right now it's like, oh my God, he's sick. Mask on and gloves. Don't touch my son. Things have gone bananas. Sometimes I'm thinking I'm in a simulation, but we had it different. Back in the days, it was much more, very different. I don't want to go into politics because I don't care. But having some sort of base understanding on investing and taking care of your body, it's so important. And Dubai is not bad in that, but London, where I lived most of my life, man, people just like, they don't care about their, I mean, I don't want to generalize. Of course, there is healthy people everywhere, but statistically speaking, even in the US, I mean, when we go to Vegas, I mean, if we look around, it's like, what the hell is going on here? Like, why these people are so fat? They drink a liter of Coke every meal. I mean, why? I mean, this is like suicide. And again, we can't say, oh, you're body shaming. Okay, but these people are sick. Like, if you are overweight, you are most likely going to be sick, right? You're going to die from that thing. So we should be more open and say, hey, maybe we should look out for this thing. Like Fiat Food, the book, going back to what we said earlier, having a base understanding of everything. Even just go, you don't have to be a gym bro and eat steak every day. Just go and do your 10,000 steps. That's supposed to be the normal, right? It doesn't matter where you live or what's your job, 10,000 steps, no excuses. Because if you don't do that, at some point when you're going to be older, the check is going to come, right? As well as inflation. If you don't think about it, at some point in the future, your balance on the bank account is going to be the same, but the purchasing power is going to show up and say, hi, do you remember me? 10% a year? Well, it's been a year, it's been 100%. So you still have $1,000, but you can buy a milkshake with that. And sorry, not sorry. You know, sorry, I'm going on around here, but I think it's important that the people, they watch you, they watch the space, they need to take responsibility and say, okay, whatever happens on the outside, maybe it's not on my control, but what I do, my response is everything. So how do I fight this? What kind of tools do I want to choose? Do you want to choose Pokemon cards and gold? Great. I don't care. I don't even judge. But you cannot avoid it saying, oh, well, you know, I'm broke anyway, or I don't have money anyway. That's not an excuse, because if you have that mindset, you're going to get punished.
The most important thing for your Bitcoin journey is not buying Bitcoin, but it's how to keep them. And yes, you have maybe the right tools, but how do you actually go ahead and stick it all together so it's the most secure for you personally? Self-custody is a deeply personalized journey, and the Bitcoin way is helping you exactly finding that correct setup for you personally. They are also helping you with securing your own cybersecurity. And if you want to go one step above all that, you can even get a consultation for a Plan B residency. Go to thebitcoinway.com/Robin and you will get a 30-minute free consultation. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use Simple Mining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together. I think we're in a simulation. Anyways, like I obviously don't know. I'm not the game master, but I think we are. And I truly think, and this might be controversial, not controversial with you, but controversial with like the general population. I think fat shaming is an act of kindness. And I'm not saying like going there and bullying someone. Like obviously that's not an act of kindness, but telling someone he has a problem and he should work on it. And if he doesn't work on it, he will have a miserable life and he will die earlier. And it's actually not good for your body. Like being overweight is as serious as any disease. And you should treat it, because any doctor can tell you that it has really, really negative impacts on your body. The same way, the same thing with underweight, by the way. Also people, there are a lot of people, and we forget in those conversations always, there are people that are way underweight and they need to eat more. They need to pack on some proteins and some fats there. And so we got so soft that we cannot even point out the obvious anymore. It's like, yeah, you're fat. You need to eat less sugar, more whole foods, less processed foods, and you need to go to the gym. Start with once a week and ramp it up so you're every day doing something. And even if it's just walking on a treadmill for like an hour, like do something, because otherwise your bones will fall apart. You will need a wheelchair when you're 50, 60 years old. Now look at Maurizio. Like, I always forget that you're 50 years old, man. You look the same age as me. You look 25 years old.
Thank you.
And so this should be the goal. And I was recently asked actually by a cousin of mine who's like, oh, like what is your goal? How do you want to be looking at life when you're 90 or 100 years old? And I'm like, I still want to play soccer with my friends. I want to swim. I want to do those things. I don't want to sit in a wheelchair. I might be sitting in a wheelchair. I might be dead with 60 years old. I don't know. Like life happens. But I at least want to do everything in my power to have the best possible life. And so if I'm doing something wrong, please tell me. If I'm having an unhealthy habit, please tell me, because this serves me. And so that's why I'm saying fat shaming done the right way. Please don't say people like just like bullying them. Fat shaming done the right way is an act of kindness, because you're improving someone else's life. And people are like, oh no, like I'm beautiful. Yeah, you might be beautiful, but you're fat. Beautiful is subjective. Fat
exactly.
is not.
as well as fiat shaming. We should have fiat shaming back into the game. that's the big one. Hey, you only need fiat. What's wrong with you? No, but I agree. By the way, I'm about to be 50 and I will be in the best shape of my life. And I'm lucky. Maybe it's just genes. Of course, I've done my share of smoking and drinking when I was in my 20s. So I'm not going to play the monk card here, because I'm not. But all I'm saying is, at some point, you have to take control and say, all right, I've done my things. I had fun. I had my parties. I smoked my cigarettes and whatever. So now I need to take care of my body, because otherwise, I mean, with all the Bitcoin, we want to see Bitcoin going higher. We want to be more wealthy. So we want to live longer. And I don't want to live I don't want to stay from 60 years old to 80 years old on a wheelchair. I want to be able to, like you said, go on a hike. And by the way, there's this guy who trains with me at F45 every morning. He's 65. Robin, you should see him. Unbelievable. It's like a beast. It's twice me, a lot of muscles. He's 65 years old. And he comes with me in a run after, super fit. And I'm like, okay, that's my target. I want to be 15 years from now, 65 years old, and go and punch life like that guy, because that's someone who is going to be able to live better, not just longer, because you feel more energetic and everything. And like you said, this is part of being, it resonates with a lot of Bitcoiners. They want to take control in general. It's not about, oh, I'm going to buy this, and when it doubles, I'm just going to sell it to buy whatever. And you can, but I don't care. I don't judge. But if you truly understand why you are doing this and why you are swapping your fiat shaming to an asset like Bitcoin, well, then it's going to spread in many other areas of your life, and you are going to be more healthy. You're going to eat better food. You're going to exercise. At least that what happened to me. Like I've gone in like in 2013 to double my money, quote unquote, and now I'm a Bitcoin Taliban. I go to the gym and I eat healthy food. So it made me a completely different person. And I think many others I've spoken to have gone through the same path, because people you have around you are going to shape who you're going to become. And if you surround yourself with people, they have the same approach to life, they have the same responsibility to choices, they will make you a different person. If you surround yourself with people, they just want to drink and smoke all day and play video games, no judgment, but you will become someone who plays, smokes, and stays all day in your house. If you start discussing with people, they have a different perspective. They want to be healthy, they exercise, they save their money. Money is Bitcoin, but their fiat, they exchange fiat for acquiring Bitcoin. Well, you're becoming a different person. So identifying, if there was a goal that I would want to recommend to everyone, is like, look at the 5 people you spend most time with, because you are going to become, if not you already, one of them. So if you don't like who you are, responsibility number 1, but you have to change your surrounding, because it's super important. And in 2025 or 6 now, I should say, it's not an excuse, because you can speak. I can spend time with you via the internet, right? We can chit chat one another, and even if we're not in the same country, we can still exchange ideas, help each other out. We can share workouts. I actually have the Apple workout thing, and I have many friends. They are not in my country, and we are challenging. Oh man, you've done whatever more than me today, so tomorrow I'm going to kick your butt. You can, with technology, you can expand your network. That's why going to conferences, it's so damn important, because you can meet people. Like I love seeing you every time to a different conference, because I have so much fun with you. And if it wasn't for Bitcoin, we would never exchange, right? We'd never met. So being aware of who you have around you, I think it's the number one. It's going to change everything else.
I 100% agree with that. And you said previously that you call yourself the Bitcoin Taliban. I never heard that.
Someone called me that on one of my comments, and it stuck with me. So yeah, Bitcoin Taliban. Yeah.
Is that because you came from like the crypto world and now are going like more and more like Bitcoin only and all in? So like there are still people that remember you from previously. Now like you're now getting to be the Bitcoin Taliban, like you mean basically Bitcoin maxi, I guess.
Exactly. It's a different way to say it. Yeah, 100%. I mean, by the way, my journey started in 2013, but then I acquired Ethereum, I acquired Cardano, I acquired many different Chainlink and many other assets, because in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. But then, I mean, I don't even remember the last time I bought an altcoin. It's probably 2017. And again, I have bags that I cannot wait to sell. And by the way, the old model was I'm using an altcoin to make more Bitcoin. So it was always the plan to have this thing that, you flip to make more Bitcoin. But karmatically speaking, it's really bad. Like I'm literally selling something I never wanted to acquire something I always wanted. So I might as well focus on what I wanted in the first place and just discard everything else. Because when I sell my Bitcoin, I'm actually helping someone to free themselves. So I'm helping everybody, karmatically speaking. I'm saying, hey, I'm selling my Bitcoin, so you have a choice, I guess, a chance to acquire it, because it's a good thing. And it doesn't happen very often that a fixed quantity asset, what are you going to label it, it's available on the market. But when I sell an altcoin, I'm not doing something nice, karmatically speaking. I'm actually, the chair game, when the music stops, you sit. I'm actually doing something opposite. Depending on the altcoin, I think some people believe in Ethereum or whatever, but I never believed in those things. And I always use them to make more Bitcoin. So I don't know, I felt dirty. And at some point, after Jeff Booth, chatting with him, he said, we had a chat on my channel. I should invite him back. It's been a while. And he made me realize that I was not following my heart. So I stopped a few years ago. I think it was in 2017, and I became a Bitcoin maxi. But for some people, they've seen me, maybe they knew that I had altcoins, and maybe they saw, oh, okay, so I thought you were the altcoin or the altcoin expert, whatever, which I was never. But I had in my portfolio some altcoins. I was never a Bitcoin maxi to begin with. And I think everyone is a Bitcoin maxi. They just don't know yet. They'll discover it maybe 10 years from now. But whoever is buying Ethereum today, in fact, if you chart those things versus Bitcoin, oh boy, it's depressing. If you think Bitcoin has done bad in 2025, I would encourage you to chart XRP versus Bitcoin, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, Cardano versus Bitcoin. They are down like 90%. So again, all those people, they invest into crypto, they all are Bitcoin Talibans. They just don't know yet.
Oh yeah, I just see XRP is down 15% versus Bitcoin last year. Ethereum also down. Like they're all down against Bitcoin. Crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. When you stop measuring things in fiat and you start measuring fiat versus Bitcoin, the old thing change. Oh yeah, but because we didn't have altcoin season. Yeah, of course. But who knows? Maybe who knows? Maybe not everything is guaranteed, because everyone thought everything is easy. Oh, the 4-year cycles is 3 years up, 1 year down, a Q4 top. And guys, this is not how it works. This is not how the market works. Now you have BlackRock, and maybe in the beginning when there was a bunch of degenerate gambler into a basement, maybe they could manipulate the market and say, oh, let's all buy now. And maybe there was a network of people wanting to build up this 4-year cycle narrative. But now we have BlackRock, we have Vanguard. Those people, they don't play games, right? So I would be very happy and say, oh, the market, it's easy. I buy at 40,000 and I sell at 150. I'm like, bro, we don't know squat. Nobody knows what's going to happen here. But I think it's going to be interesting to see real impact. In fact, if you zoom out on gold, I think it was in 2004, or 7, when the ETF was launched in August. I want to say 2004, but correct me if I'm wrong. The price of gold has changed forever because of the ETF have entered the market. So the ETF only launched not long ago. So it's going to take time for the asset to behave in a different way, but we can all agree that the base investor now has changed. So assuming that it's not going to impact the price, it's like crazy, because of course you have a different type of investor, so you'll have a different type of behavior. Otherwise, we are implying that it doesn't matter. Wow, the BlackRock and strategy and 21, doesn't matter. Well, it does, and it will. In fact, I believe in 2026, we'll have a new all-time high because of this reason. And no one is talking about the buying pressure, but yes, there's been some selling from the OGs. They thought the cycle was over and yada, yada, which I think they'll come back, because I wonder how you think about this. But okay, let's assume, as I think, that the market wants to punish most of the participants, because that's how it works, in my view. So how does the market is going to punish everyone? Well, first, you make everyone believe that the top was in, so everyone is selling. Then you pump the market back, everyone is coming in, then you pull the plug, right? Because we haven't seen a punishment yet. The market hasn't gone in punishment mode. Like, we haven't seen the euphoria, the retail back, everyone is like, oh my God, Bitcoin. That is not seen yet. So I'm expecting a huge pump. Then everyone is coming back. All those OG they sold at 120 or 90,000, they're going to go, oh my God, they're going to do 100,000. I need to go back in. Then it's going to happen. Skadoosh. We will see maybe a 60% correction. That's what I'm expecting. So 2026 is going to be interesting. It's going to be very volatile. But again, grand scheme of things, we don't care, because even if we go high or low, whatever, I think about 10 years ahead. But to observe, like you said in the beginning, to have fun and watch the 12 months, the 6 months time frame, it's going to be super volatile. At least that's what I'm expecting.
Do you think this punishment is a short-term only thing? Or is it like the punishment? So you said like the market wants to punish most people. This is in the short term or also a long-term thing?
Well, I mean, in any market, you see volatility, right? So some is more severe than others, but I think the market makers like to punish most of the participants all across different markets. You can see it on stock, on gold, on silver, on Bitcoin, of course. And I think it's going to be a I don't want to call it cycle because people are going to confuse it, but there is a business cycle, an 8-year kind of cycle where money has a better understanding of our economy. So there are 8-year cycles in which everything has a role, has a play. So I think there are some people, they take advantage on manipulation on silver, gold, Bitcoin. So there is going to be a time where the market is going to correct aggressively, because again, I mean, Bitcoin has gone down, 38% from 126? It's nothing. I mean, 38% is, honestly, it's like nothing. I remember in 2017, we've seen 45, we've seen 40, in a bull market I'm talking about, right? So a bear market by definition is when, according to some people, if the asset corrects more than 50%, I mean, in Bitcoin, then there is a bear market. So if Bitcoin tomorrow will go down further, well, I would say, okay, well, if the correction is 50%, well, okay, potentially I would entertain the idea we are now in a bear market. But until that happens, historically speaking, we are not in a bear market. So if anything, 2025 was, it could be the bear market. Again, to go back to the beginning, if you compare Bitcoin versus gold, we are in a bear market. So it's interesting, right? So what asset are you using to compare what? So on the long run, no, I don't think it's easier to manipulate as much, but in the short time frame, you want to shake the tree and see who's weak and who falls down. Paper hands, as we call them. If Bitcoin corrects 40%, some are going to sell because they don't know what they bought. Oh my God, it's going to zero, because they don't understand what they invested in. So we go back to the beginning, study Bitcoin. But most people don't. Just most people, they, at least in my experience, when I interface myself with the universe, they're like, oh yeah, I want to buy Bitcoin to make money and then sell it and buy a house or buy a car. Great. You're going to sell an asset to buy a liability. Fantastic. And then most of the people, they don't even understand their house they have a mortgage on It is not an asset. It is a liability. And you know how many times I argue with people, oh, you don't understand, you pay rent. I'm like, bro, you have a liability. You don't even have, at the end of the journey, it's not even yours, but that's a different story. So the education on the matter is really tiny. People don't like to invest. Just again, like you said in the beginning, the herd mentality. Everybody has a mortgage. Everybody buy a house because a house is a store of value. It's an asset. So I'm going to do the same. Go to the bank and say, hey, I would like a 90% mortgage. Great. I mean, the bank cannot wait to say, ooh, another one. Let's go. That's business. But when you say to people, I don't buy a house, I don't buy liabilities. Why would I? Then you are crazy. Oh, but everyone is doing it. What's wrong with you, right? So again, another demonstration of, I want to think about it. I want to use my brain. Thank you very much. Maybe in the end, I'll do it because I decided that it makes sense for me. And by the way, if you really want to have a house, because for you it's very important, who am I to tell you not to do it? Go for it. As long as you understand the consequences of your financial decision. And it's not just me ranting on Bitcoin. If you take pen and paper and you do the math, it doesn't make any sense, financially speaking, right? But it's hard. It's hard when you say to someone, when you wake someone up, it's hard. They don't want to be awakened. They just want to stay in fantasy land, right? Where everyone is there. Oh, I have a mortgage. I know plenty of people in the UK. It's such a big thing, having a house. Oh, you go on holiday? No, I can't. I need to pay my mortgage. And I'm like, why? Why would you get an offer to go and work in the US? I can't go. I have my house. Oh, no, you can rent it, right? Try to be a landlord, please. Try to be a landlord for 6 months. Try it. See how fun it is. It's really fun. I've been there. It's really fun. So we sold the house because we couldn't. It's really tricky. Plus taxes, and it's complicated. But people see only, oh, but you pay your rent. Yeah, and I'm really glad I can pay a service. I don't have any worry about the roof, the elevator, the breaking of the stuff, taxes. I don't care. I can flick my finger and go and move. If I want a smaller space or bigger space, no problems. But if you own it, it's different. And then they say, oh, but the housing market always goes up. Well, it depends. Depends when and where you bought. There's places where buying a house is a terrible investment. Not even mentioning the fact that if you go through a mortgage, oh boy, well, the bank has it, and the first you pay is them, not you. So you have to pay the bank first, twice the amount of money, plus the remortgaging and everything, and interest rates and all that kind of stuff. But again, when you talk about this with someone, they're like, "Oh, you don't understand. You're an idiot. Buying a house is my house is the best investment I've made." And I'm like, "Oh my God, this is really bad. It's really bad. It's terrible."
It's crazy. I 100% agree with you, and it really in Austria we have that philosophy to have a house, to buy a house. And most people have all their goals of like saving up to afford the down payment, whatever it is, 10%, 20%, 30%. And then they work for 30 years, 20 years, 40 years, whatever the duration is, to pay off the mortgage. And I made the calculation, what is better, rent versus owning a home. And I made this calculation, especially also for my sister. And I showed her what are the cases where buying a home is actually better than renting, and what are the cases where renting is way better than buying a home. There are a lot of different variables to play in. It's like, what are the interest rates that you're paying? How big is your down payment? But the biggest variable is, do you have other assets? Would you do something with the money that you save when you rent versus when you pay the mortgage? So if you do not have another asset, and you don't want to invest in Bitcoin, you don't want to invest in gold, you don't want to invest in any stocks, you 100% should buy a home and not rent. Because at least you have one thing that goes a little bit up over time. At least you have that thing going for you. And you have the leverage going on, like you have like 20% down payment and the 80%, and you make the gain on the whole thing and not just on the down payment. But in any other case, you're better off owning an asset. And depending on how high your interest rate is and how big your down payment is, you actually outperform with renting just by 5 to 10% if the asset is doing. We are not even talking about 20%. And Bitcoin has done like 50%. Then the numbers get ridiculously, like completely shaped towards Bitcoin. So you actually only outperform with buying a home if Bitcoin isn't going up with more than 10%. Which I have a weird feeling Bitcoin is going up the next 20 years more than 20% a year, a lot more, maybe like 25%. And yeah, like the difference between 20% going up every year and 25% going up every year is massive, by the way. So like it's really, really big. And so when you break it down, it all comes back to like, what is your life going to be? There's one more thing that I want to mention. If you have an extremely great credit score and you could buy a home outright directly from your cash reserves, from your Bitcoin reserves, and you have great cash flow and you get a down payment of like 2% or 3%, this is the situations where it's like actually makes slowly sense to buy the home because you have such big leverage on there. You can easily afford it. But where people usually get in trouble is if they try to buy something they cannot afford with credit. So if they're having like $100,000 to their name and they're trying to buy a home for $800,000, don't do that.
Which is 90% of the people. Yeah.
Which is 90% of the people. But you are committing financial suicide and you're enslaving yourself to the banks.
Exactly.
Why? Like, what's going on in your head that you do that?
I know. Again, it's the herd mentality. By the way, I agree with you. There is also the mental component. Like, if you really think that you want to have a home for your kids, for your wife, for your family, that's great. That's again, I'm not saying never buy a house. All I'm saying is, it doesn't make any sense financially, because if you would buy S&P, silver, gold, and Bitcoin spread as whatever you choose percentages, you will outperform any house real estate market. Of course, if you speak to a real estate agent, they'll say the opposite because they want to sell, because they make money when you buy the house. But if you just have a basic investment into stock, gold, silver, and Bitcoin, that's it. You're outperforming everything. You don't have the burden. You can go wherever you want. You're more free. And by the way, in the UK, which is absolutely bananas, if I buy let's say I buy a house, okay, I buy the house cash because I'm rich and I don't care. I sell my Bitcoin or whatever asset, I buy a house cash, boom, and I own it. When I die, my son or my daughter, they have to pay 40% inheritance tax just to get the house, 40% of the value, which is nuts. So it's not even working out for my kids, no, it's just a terrible decision. And by the way, UK has 40%, other places have 20, 30, depending on the jurisdiction, but it doesn't make any sense because now I have an asset, liability, but whatever, that if I want it to go to my son or my daughter or my family, 40%. So again, terrible choice, whether if you buy S&P, gold, silver, Bitcoin, and if you invest, if you have a plan of investment, it's working out better. The difference is people, again, going back to the beginning, they don't see this because they're like, oh, but what do I live? I need a house, bro. Like, I can't live in Bitcoin. I can't live into the S&P. Again, because they are ignorant. And being ignorant is great. I was ignorant. I'm not saying they are stupid. I'm saying they are ignorant, which is different. So if they study, not just Bitcoin, but inflation, gold and silver and S&P and the stock, they'll quickly realize that buying a house is a bad idea. It's really terrible. Unless, like we are saying, there are some circumstances or there's a desire where, I don't know, if I don't have a house, I'm depressed. Or maybe people have different goals, right? So there's people, they actually want their space. Great. I mean, every now and then I eat a donut. I know I shouldn't, but I eat a donut. So I am aware that me eating a donut is not a good thing. So if you came to a conclusion that, okay, I want a house, it's not great financially, but I understand why, then it makes sense. Where I have an issue is when people assume by default that going to a bank and asking a 90% mortgage is a great financial choice. Like you said, there are circumstances where it makes sense, but the average person goes down to a 90% mortgage. Now in the UK, they invented those multi-generational mortgages. So I will have to pass my mortgage to my son or my daughter. I don't even know because they haven't signed for it. But at some point, someone is going to show up and say, hey, your dad and your mom died, so you have a mortgage now for, I don't know, 20 years. So, and again, mortgage in French means debt penalty. Like the word itself, it just says it. It says it all. So before you jump into a mortgage, you should understand at least why you're doing it. But again, herd mentality, everyone is doing it, right? It's an investment. It's a place I need to live and I can grow a family. Of course, a no-brainer. Everyone is doing it. I might as well do it myself, whether sometimes...
There are multi-generational mortgages now?
Yeah, I don't know if they are in act now, but when I left a few years ago, it was almost ready. So unless something has changed on a legislational level, I'm expecting them to roll out. And it's going to be easier and easier, by the way, to pass the credit. Everything now is, you can buy anything and break it down in pieces. Oh, I'm buying this, but wait, I don't want to pay now. I want to pay in 10 installments. What? If you can't afford it, dude, don't buy it. It's as simple as. Like credit cards are the number one enemy of financial freedom. Oh, I put it on my credit card. Yeah, it's okay. I'll pay when I can. Oh, I want to buy these crap I don't need, money I don't have. This is where we are now. Like people are buying stuff they don't need, money they don't have, and they have a plan of repaying it back in 20 installments. Oh, that's okay. I can. Amazon let you do it now. You go on Amazon. By the way, Amazon is killing everybody's bank account with random stuff that nobody needs, because shopping is also emotional, and it's so easy now. It's just, you swipe twice and you buy crap. It's so easy. And then you can say, well, you know what? I don't want to pay now, actually. I want to pay on my credit card, in 10, 15 installments. In fact, if you look into Americans specifically and how bad it is, the credit card debt collectively is terrible. A friend of mine reached out 6 months ago and she said, I'm in a really bad financial place. I said, okay. We met. I chopped her credit cards with my scissors. Okay, this one is chopped. She was crying. She's like, well, how am I going to pay my latte in Starbucks? Well, you don't freaking drink latte in Starbucks. You can't afford it, bro. It's like $9. You are in debt. You have to change the way you live, you know? If you want things in your life to change, you have to change things in your life. If you live on credit, how much money you are making a month? This much. Perfect. Whatever you can, if you don't have the money, you can't afford it, right? But it's such a simple exercise to do. This is how much I make, this is how much I spend. This I can't afford. I'm not going to buy it. Simple as. It's logic, right? But then when you are in the rat race, it's like, yeah, but today was really hard at work and I'm not feeling great. I want to buy a new purse. I want to buy a new pair of shoes or whatever, a new watch, whatever men's and women do these days. It's hard for them to say, no, I'm not going to do that. And think about on top, I'm going to use that thing to invest into Bitcoin. Think how difficult it is. It's freaking horrible for someone who's a drug addict in shoppings and flying and stories on Instagram, a new phone. Everyone is changing phone every 6 months nowadays. iPhone, whatever. I mean, who cares? My phone works. I can buy Bitcoin with it. But again, you know, people think you're crazy. Oh, why? You don't have a new phone? You don't go to Japan, or you don't go to buy a new whatever pair of Jordans? It's hard to make people change their behavior, especially if the friends around you are all behaving that way. So if your friends are spending money on credit and doing stuff they can't afford, and well, then you're most likely going to do it. But if you go into a financial plan where you work, proof of work, this is where Bitcoin shines. Okay, I have a financial issue. I'm going to solve it. How? Well, I'm going to cook my food. I'm going to take my food to work. I'm going to make my coffee. I'm going to walk buy a bicycle instead of the train. You can come up with ideas. But again, it's friction, right? You're going against the wave, saying, it'd be so much easier to just get the latte and the train and put them on my credit card. Who cares? This is where character comes out. This is why I said to you in the beginning, when I meet Bitcoiners, I'm like, we all have in common. So it becomes much easier to conversate because we share the same value on everything, not just money.
100%. It's so interesting when I think about it. It is, it's almost like when you think about how how much money the average person gives out for things they don't need, and then they say they don't have money to invest in something like Bitcoin, and then they complain that they don't have money, and then they want to tax the rich. And I'm like, you have to admit it's your fault. And I'm seeing that actually a lot with people that make it versus people that don't make it. The people that doing, so for example, now I'm very young, so like I have a lot of life experience. I don't have also a lot of friends that have that I've seen for a long time, because like I'm just like 27. But already now, what I've seen from the people that have been to school with me with like 15 years old, to like how they are doing now 12 years later, those people that took responsibility, those people that said, hey, I made this, I fucked up there, this is my mistake, I own that, and they can declare that as their mistake, and then they can move on of that. They are doing so much better than the people that say, I'm not doing good because my father hasn't loved me. I'm not doing good because the government is taxing me too much. I'm not doing good because now Biden is the president. And I'm like, and come on, like don't blame other people. It's you. And I see that so often with people like, oh, I don't have the time. I'm like, you set your own time. Time is your most valuable resource. Like, how can you outsource how you spend your time? Yes, of course, like I get it. Like if you have kids, like obviously like you have responsibilities. Yes, you have to pay rent, so like you have to do it. But there are ways to get out of that. You just haven't, you're just not willing to do this sacrifice. So like it really comes down to like, are you willing to admit that you are the problem and you own it or not? And I don't know how I came to that, but I strongly thought about that when you were speaking of like, yeah, people just don't want to own their own mistakes and they want to outsource it. And then they're like, oh yeah, he's wrong. And because of him. And the thing is, then you're right. Because if you say like, oh, because this guy is not a president, I cannot do this. Yeah, you're right. Like, because he became president and now you're doing bad. Congratulations, your life sucks and you're right.
But it's such an easy, I completely agree, but it's such an easy way out to say, oh, it's your fault. Of course. You know how many people have said to me, oh, I had a bad day because my boss ruined it. I'm like, what? So you empowered your boss to ruin your day. Like, it's your decision. You can decide not to give a damn. I'm sorry. Like, you decide. It's always on you. But you know how difficult it is to take responsibility? Because then when you do, well, then you are like, oh, shoot, if this is not working, it's my fault, right? So it's much harder. It's much easier to say, oh, blaming on the government, my neighbor, the weather, you know, anything else, the bank. Oh, I'm broke because of the bank. No, you broke because you don't take responsibility and you don't do the math yourself. But it's so much harder. And like you said, the difference is huge. Whenever you leave your comfort zone, you grow. So if you never leave your comfort zone, you never grow. And what happens is whenever you start leaving your comfort zone a lot, but people will call you lucky, but oh, you're so lucky, right? In the beginning, it was pissing me off so much. But now I say, yeah, of course I'm lucky, because what I think I become anyway. So yeah, sure, more luck. Even though in my diary, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. That's a definition. Preparation meeting opportunity equals luck. But how many people have said to me, oh, dude, you're so lucky, man. Oh, you're so lucky. You don't even know. And it bugged me the hell out of it in the beginning. I was like, what do you mean luck? I mean, no, I've built my luck, okay? But they won't see it. They won't see it. And they rather say, oh, you see all those things he or she can do, I'll never be able to do it because I don't have the same characteristics or whatever. In fact, I'm going to make you laugh now. There's an Italian rapper, super famous, who made a song about me being in Dubai and, you know, with my daddy money. My dad died when I was a kid. He shot himself. So my dad didn't have any money, by the way. So I grew up with a single mom. I was cleaning toilets in Lake Como, by the way. But anyway, fun stuff. This guy is singing how I'm using my daddy's money to be in Dubai. which is hilarious. Because what I think of is like, dude, you don't even know who I am. How can you assume just because I'm in Dubai and I do videos on Bitcoin, I have daddy's money? What's wrong with you? But this is how people operate, because it's much easier to say, his dad is rich, so of course that guy is quote unquote successful, right? Because it's in the family. He got family money, family, blah, blah. They don't think, this guy has done so and so. Because otherwise, if they assume that I've done it, well, they are assuming they can too. But they don't want to put the work. So they're saying, it's so lucky. All the trolls on YouTube, your video, whatever, I can do better. Great. Please do. Like, I'm not against it. Like, if you think you can generally do a better video than me, I would be more than happy to come on a video and say, good job, and I'll give you a thumbs up. But again, they're never going to do that, because criticizing is simple, right? Or all those, I don't know if you have been following those box matches with Tate and this guy and what's it called? Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul. That guy, I would have done. Dude, I don't know a squat about box, and I haven't seen the matches, but boxing someone is not easy. So I'm pretty sure 99% of the people that criticize them to go in the ring, they wouldn't even last 10 seconds. Again, it's much easier to be a keyboard warrior and punch something on, or behaving certain ways, saying, he's lucky, I can do so much better. Well, then great, do it. But, I can't. You know how many people have said to me in my village, I wish I could have done what you've done, traveling and living in China and in Japan and Netherlands, going around. I just can't do it. I mean, I can't because of so-and-so and so. And I was like, well, you are telling yourself why you can't, but you're not telling yourself why you can. So again, taking responsibility is such an important piece. And it goes back with being a Bitcoiner, saying, hey, I have an issue here, which is inflation. How am I going to fix it? Or what can I do to make my experience on this planet less horrible? And you decide to wake up every day. You can decide to be one type of person or another type of person. And it's on you. And you have to make sure that whatever you choose to be, you are 100% in charge of it. And it's fine. There are some people, they want a simple life. They want to have a mortgage. They don't want to think about money. Great. But there's the difference between going through and understanding in the end, after an introspection, you could say, I've decided to go and do this because I thought about this. Give you another example. Plenty of people have said to me, Italian is the best food on the planet. Okay, great. Where have you been? I've never been anywhere. Italian food is the best. Well, how do you know? Like, if you never left Italy, if you never went to even Austria or China or whatever, how do you know? I know because everybody knows. Well, there's a difference between you traveling to the other side of the planet and trying a dish and say, now that I tried it, I can say confidently, I like this one better. Fine, I'm okay with that. But taking assumption by, I don't even have to go there, it sucks. But how do you know? So if someone goes through a journey and in the end they decided to say, you know what, I've done my study, I've done my thing, and I want to buy a house, I want to have a mortgage, great, who cares? I don't judge. But just because everyone is doing it, just don't take it by default. Beth, everyone is doing it, must be good. Everybody's queuing in that shop. It must be a reason why, so I might as well go and queue. I mean, dude, but this is where we live in now. There's a society where people are queuing randomly because other people are queuing. So our job is to bang on videos and say, do not queue unless you proactively want to queue. And if you wake up and you want to queue because there is an item you want to buy in the store, fantastic. But ask yourself why and be in charge. Oh gosh, you owe it to yourself, to your life, to your friends, right? Otherwise, what are we doing here, man? What's this story in being alive if we don't take charge? I don't understand.
And there's a lot of things in there, but your dad shot himself? That's crazy.
Yeah, he was going through depression and he was going and shooting animals in the wild. So he had guns and weapons in the house. And so that happened, yeah. I was 11.
How old were you?
I think 11, 10 or 11.
Oh, sorry, man. Like that freaking sucks. But I love it because this actually shows, because I know you for a long time. I know you now since 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, something like that.
Probably a couple of years. Yeah.
We have been on 5 podcasts. We have talked on podcasts, on your podcast, on my podcast. I think even like on other podcasts, like multiple times, maybe even like 6-7 times. I don't know. And then we meet each other at like almost every single conference now, and it shows that you don't bring that story up. Shows that you don't use it as an excuse. I love that, because like literally the first time you ever told me this was about your dad, is like, because it could be so easy for you, like, oh yeah, like I'm not doing good because of this and that, because like my dad shot himself and like I'm damaged now in that way. And it's like, I mean, now you're almost 50, so it's like 40 years ago. It's like 4 decades, like it's a very long time ago. But still, like it's easy for people to use those excuses. But it's also easy, or it's the hard thing to do, to not use them as excuse and get over them. And they're like, oh man, like I cannot even imagine how this feels like.
But this shows, I mean, by the way, I never talk about this anywhere. There's, I mean, not because it never came out, but that shows how comfortable you made me, right? So this is kudos on you to be a great host and make me feel comfortable, so I can tell you things I've never shared before. But I have a pretty interesting story. I don't talk about it much because I don't want to feel like, oh, I'm showing up or I'm sharing things. But one thing I can tell you, I would never change anything in my life, even though I would give all my Bitcoin to do a dinner with my dad for, I don't know, an hour and say, hey, can we have a chat? Because I don't know who he was, but I only can guess based on the story of my uncles and my mom, but I don't know who he was. So I would love to spend an hour. So my message here is to whoever has a dad, please have dinner with him tonight and tell them you love them, because it's really important. But I wouldn't change that for the world, because if I could go back in time and rewind that action, I would be a different person completely. So I think embracing everything you've done, it's super important to accept who you are. If there's something I don't like about myself, I can work towards it. I can say, okay, I can change this. Like I said, I never worked out on one day of my life, and 7 months ago, I started pounding the gym like there was no tomorrow. And it's tough. I don't want to wake up in the morning and go to F45 while they break every single muscle you have. But those moments are the moment of growth, right? You have to go through your comfort zone and say, I'm not comfortable now. Fantastic. This means you are growing. I mean, I'm not saying to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, but if you don't push who you are, you're never going to change. So having some sort of understanding of what have I done with my life? Like you said super well in the beginning, how do I use my time? What am I doing with my time? Like, what am I doing? Like having one of the tips I got from a really good friend of mine said, take a piece of paper and write your perfect week. So you decide what Monday at 9 o'clock you're going to do and what Sunday at 7 p.m. you're going to do. It's on you. Write it down, the perfect week. Go. Dude, I didn't even know what to say. This was like years ago. I was like, I don't know, 7 a.m. on Monday, I guess I'm waking up and having coffee and then blank. Because it's not easy to take control. It's much easier to stay into a sleepwalk and just wake up, take the bus, go to work, come back home, have lunch if you can. If not, you have lunch in the office, go back, come back home, Netflix, watch some stuff on Instagram, go to bed. This is super easy. But when you start saying, wait, how can I make it better? Again, it goes back to take control. So, and I think you can use those stories. Everyone has traumas and things happens to us. We live and life comes in the way. You can decide to use something bad to find something good in it, and vice versa. So it's not necessarily just because something bad has happened to you, that doesn't mean there is not a treasure in there. So you can decide to look for the gold. You can decide to say, hey, what am I learning from this experience? This happened to me, sucks. I wish I could have my dad tonight for dinner, but there must be a reason why this is not there. And what can I do to make whatever it is? It could be a car accident, could be maybe you broke up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, could be anything. Any situation has, if you dig deep enough, there is a treasure there. So I think your mission should be to dig as much as you can to find the best in any situation. And it's hard. It's really hard because whenever you are in discomfort, you don't want to dig. You want to do the opposite. But I think that builds character. In fact, if you look into moments they define you, I think all we have, I don't know, 10 moments, maybe more or less, but they define our character. if you do an introspection, say, hey, why am I who am I think it's because of the experience we've done. So there are probably some key moments that we decided not to dig, or to dig, of course, and that digging or not digging made who we are today.
I love that. Such a great message. I completely forgot about that, and I really want to get that in the podcast, because we teased it in the beginning, that we talk about the 4-year cycle. It's a very hard topic change now, but I think the 4-year cycle is an interesting one, and people are now claiming it's over, the 4-year cycle, because like the third year that was supposed to be up was a down year, 2025, and it definitely changed. Like it definitely was different. How do you think about the 4-year cycle? How do you think about Bitcoin and how it will kind of develop in the future? And also, if the 4-year cycle is just 3 years up and 1 year down?
That's a good point. So I guess there is a controversial kind of two waves of opinion at the moment. Some people are calling it, cycles are dead. Okay, so I guess it depends on how you measure it. Like some people are saying they are dead because of the 3 years in green and 1 in red, but we have not seen that. So for the first time ever since Bitcoin was invented, we have seen now that, we have not seen 3 years in the green. So technically, if you measure them like this, you could say the 4-year cycles are dead. But on the contrary, the 4-year cycles are simply stating that every 4 years there is a peak in Q4 and then we drop. So technically, I think we still are in the 4-year cycles, even if I believe they are not going to be relevant anymore. But if I look into the data, until proven otherwise, we are still in a cycle, which I don't think we are, but technically we are. So now the nail on the coffin would be a new all-time high in 2026. So if we do go over October 6th, which was 127, depending on the exchange, 26, this year, well, then the cycles are dead, because we broke the all-time high into technically a different time frame. But if we stay below 126 for the entire 2026, well, then there is a strong argument that the cycles are still relevant. So I don't think we will have cycles anymore. And I think maybe in the beginning, with the fact that the halving was impacting the supply, right? So I would argue maybe 1 or twice has happened, but I don't think we are going to see those 1, 2, 3. I mean, technically no, because we broke that, but I don't think we're going to see, Bitcoin is only good for 2 years, and then the other 2 years is like, shaky. That's not a good way to sell an asset. It's like you can only buy it in certain times. It's like, I don't know, like again, male astrology, or when Taurus and Libra are fighting each other. No, this is an asset that goes up forever. So how can I say, you shouldn't buy in 2026 because it could correct 50%, but in 2028, great. So I actually want to break this 4-year cycle for this reason, because I don't want people to invest only when it's quote unquote green, but they should invest regardless. So the best way would be to smash this crazy 4-year cycle idea, meaning in 2026, we have to go over 126. So it bugs me to say it, but I think for now, we are still respecting the 4-year cycles. But I think soon, I don't know, in 6 months or 3 months or 10 months, depending on Bitcoin is going to go, if it's going to go higher, then everyone is going to say, okay, well then, it doesn't matter how you measure it, we've gone higher in 2026. So by definition, the cycles are broken. And I think we will. I think we will in 2026. Again, I could be wrong. Again, do not buy because I'm saying this. No financial advice. I'm buying monthly because I have a 10 years plan. But I believe that the cycles are going to be relevant. That's what I believe and hope.
100%. I think so too. And the 4-year cycle, I already called it last year. I think it's dead, but officially, of course, it still lives on. Let's see how 2026 shakes out.
Exactly.
Really cool. We have one question that I ask each and every one of my returning guests. I think I asked you already the question 1 or 2 times. The question is, what have you learned outside of Bitcoin since your last appearance on the podcast?
Oh, I love that. I think we touched on the gym and the food last time, but I think I would double down on that one. So I will learn that Bitcoin is not everything. Bitcoin is a piece of the puzzle, and it's a mirror. Whatever you see in the mirror is because you have it inside you. I think Robin. Yeah, I think Brian Jesus, with name today, I'm terrible. Bram said it last time with you. So it was you, me, and Bram. And I think he said Bitcoin is a mirror. I love that. I think that's a fantastic way to describe it. So Bitcoin is not everything. There is way more, but I think it's a really important piece of the puzzle to understand that once you conquer that you have in you, you can then free yourself to do whatever you want. So it's like a quest you have to do to become more powerful, if it makes sense. So the learning would be, it's okay to focus on something, but it's also important to remember yourself that it's not everything. Bitcoin is not everything. Like sometimes I see people on Twitter, the Bitcoin is more important than time and than love. And even Saylor said it once, something about love and Bitcoin is more important. I'm like, dude, easy there. I love Michael Saylor. I love you guys. I love you. But I believe personally that time and love, and this is way more important than $80,000 Bitcoin or whatever. There are some priorities in my life, and Bitcoin is not the number one. So learn how to put things in priority.
100%. It's like you should also have, I think very strongly that Bitcoin will become the most boring thing on earth, because it just exists like the TCP/IP protocol. It exists like air. It exists like something that we of course use. It will take some time till we get there. So it's not coming 2026, definitely. But it might come in 2045, in 2060, 2080, 2140, who knows? But it will become boring. So make sure, and it sounds really weird now coming from me, because I have a Bitcoin podcast, I have a Bitcoin business with Microseed, I'm living and breathing Bitcoin. Like most of my friends are Bitcoiners, and those who aren't Bitcoiners, who at least have Bitcoin. So I'm probably the last person who should say that, but I still say it: have a life outside of Bitcoin.
100%.
Which is always weird if it comes from me. Also, like, it's just like comes out of me, like, Bitcoin is a tool, and you should use it to get more life and not more Bitcoin. But that's a whole nother podcast. I think we can add like an hour to that only. We have an end routine, as you know, where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you a fun question that I think not everyone can actually answer. Without looking it up, how much is 1,000 Satoshis right now?
I have no clue. I would say $12, completely random. I have no clue. I have no clue, actually.
You're wrong by the factor of 10. It's $1.
Oh, $1. Okay.
So it's like, because like 100 million Satoshi is like 100,000, and it's like, yeah. But it's a really interesting question, because, and he told me why he's asking that, because he wants to get Satoshis. Everyone knows, like, if I asked you now, what is like 1,000 Bitcoin worth, or like 10 Bitcoin worth, like, you would just do the calculation, because you know exactly like what a Bitcoin is worth, and you just like add the zero. But like, we still don't think in Satoshis, just because like we haven't gone up much, and we don't use it as medium of exchange too much. And what I've actually noticed is, the more I transact with Bitcoin, the more I'm starting to think in Satoshis. And so it's just like, for him, he put that question in. It's like saying, like, he wants to promote Bitcoin as a medium of exchange and Satoshis as a unit of account, which is a fun way. But I wouldn't have, I wouldn't know it, only because in my live streams, I always start with how many Satoshis you get for $1, and it's just about $1,000.
I mean, I don't even know the price of Bitcoin unless if you ask me now how much is Bitcoin, I don't know. So again, that's another good thing. Like, when is the last time I checked the price of Bitcoin? I don't know, probably last night. So and this thing moves quickly. I would say we are maybe somewhere between 80 and 87. I don't know. So I don't even know the price. So I know the math, but it's actually a good question, because like you said, it brings awareness of divisibility. But then I think we should also, and soon is going to happen, I believe, people are going to start using Satoshis when Bitcoin is going to be much more, I guess, expensive. The only thing which is sad is like people don't want to have 0.0003 of something. They rather have one, a whole. So that is going to be a huge ego lesson, because at some point it's going to be very, I mean, it's already hard to acquire one Bitcoin. Whatever the price is today, many people can't afford it, right? So it's not $1,000 anymore. And even $1,000, I would argue, it's not for everybody, but when it comes to 80 or 100,000, it becomes way more difficult. So having Satoshi is more, I guess, part of our society. It's a really great idea. I know there is an extension for Chrome that does the conversion on any price, on any website. It gives you the Satoshi conversion. I didn't install it, but that could be a good exercise to stay on par with Bitcoin every now and then.
It's really interesting, the unit bias, because if you think about it, you could say, oh, I have 0.0542 Bitcoin, which is like, wait, 0.0, like that sounds like ridiculously low amount. But you could also say, I have 5,420,000 Satoshis, which sounds a lot more, but it's the same amount. It's just like a different unit. And then it's like, yeah, unit bias is real. Like people don't, if someone asks you, oh, how many Bitcoin you have, first of all, don't answer that. But second of all, if you would answer that and you said like, oh, I have 0.0542, people are like, okay. If you tell them, oh, like how many Bitcoin you have, like, oh, I have 5,420,000, like your chest is getting bigger. You're like, oh, I have 5 million of something. Satoshis. Oh, you have 0.0 something of something. Like, no, you don't have really a lot. So unit bias is a bitch.
Yeah, but that's why some currencies are freaking you out. Like in the UAE, we use the dirham. Dirham are 4 to $1, right? So it's 4 times bigger, millions of dirham. But in fact, other countries, maybe even Japan, yuan is so big, or Turkey, millions of Turkish lira, but they're worth nothing. So we need to kind of, like you're saying, it's interesting to see how this shift. It happens with fiat currencies, by the way, all around the world. There was a time where 1 British pound was worth, I think, 5,000 lira in Italian, with Italian lira. Before the euro arrived, I used to live in the lira universe, right? Where everyone was like, a coffee was like $1 million, $2 million for a coffee. It was really weird. So when then you go to the US and it's like $1, what do you mean one? It's 1 million for me, and we're buying the same thing. So I think maybe that could help in understanding better, like you said, the unit of Bitcoin and divisibility. So it's really interesting because, like you said, saying you have 6 million Satoshis is way better than 0.0006 Bitcoin. So hopefully one day we'll start using it.
100%. Maurizio, thank you so much for being on. It was really, really cool to speak with you. Before I let you go, where can people find you, ask you questions, and reach out to you?
Well, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. Mr. M Podcast, everything. So at Mr. M Podcast on YouTube or whatever platform you wish. If you want to hear audio only, I'm on Spotify. But I usually send people on YouTube. It's my absolute favorite way because you can see us. You can see how we interact with each other as opposed to voice only. But yeah, I would say Mr. M Podcast on YouTube would be probably the best way to see me and follow me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back tomorrow with another episode. Bye-bye. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.